Okay, so there's the rotor all done. It's about as clean as I can get it. And it's actually quite, came out quite nice. There's the other side of the impeller. Anyway, let's get back to rebuilding this thing. And there's the casings, and we have all the parts come in for it. We got bearings and seals and gaskets and all kinds of cool things. So let's get after it. All right, so here we go. We're gonna put this back together. And we'll start with the stator and put the bearing back in, which goes in here, and then put the seal back in, which sits in here actually. That's the seal there. But first, before we do any of that, we've cleaned this dead clean. It's all nice here. Okay. The bearing needs to rest into the seal. Okay. That's the old bearing there. Okay, they're not exactly small. Okay, they are small in compared to other machinery out there, but for what other people think, that's a pretty big bearing, and it's a few pounds. So that's the new bearing. That's the old bearing, but we want to set that in the housing. So I got the drawing here, and this is from 6th of 1955, so June of 55. And if it will stay focused, you can see the double ball bearing here, and beside it here is the seal, and the bearing runs right up against the seal. Okay, well, it actually sits recessed into the seal, which is right there, and that's the back side of the seal, and there's the bearing. And it actually sits recessed into it. Okay, great. You got to put the bearing in the housing, but obviously it needs to go a certain depth in. So we take our old gasket, put the gasket in. We'll take the unrebuilt seal, put it in, lock it all into place, flip this over, and then take the bearing and drive it in. Then once the bearing bottoms out, we'll know it's set properly. Let's get after it. Okay, the seal's in, and the gasket's into. I know the gasket doesn't use a lot of space, but still, you want to set the bearing to the point, so you might as well put everything back together the way it was and then drive the bearing in. So there's the other side of it. It's all like nice in here. It's all clean. It's all ready to go. And here's the new bearing. Now the new bearing has packaging oil in it, or on it, and we should wipe that off because you want to set a bearing dry. Okay, I've just wiped the bearing off with a bit of brake cleaner fluid, and it is sitting in place now. I just wanted to make a note. What I like to do always when I'm setting a bearing is you put the numbers out so you can read them. If you put it the other way around, I know you got to take the bearing out anyways, but at least you can pre-order the bearing before you have to yeah. So it's always better to read the bearing, have the bearings placed out. So we'll set this now, and I don't have a big enough press to do it the way I like to, not here, but that doesn't stop me from doing it. All right, so I've set the bearing, and let me show you how I did it here. So there's the bearing. It's nicely set. So to stop any foreign material from getting into it, I put a filter cloth down, or just a piece of paper towel, piece of wood. And you can hit the wood, but I like to not do that. Set this in the center. and then give it a wrap. Right. You do that until the bearing bottoms out. You can hear it when it hits because it changes sound, and that's all there is to it. Now that the bearing's set, and it's beautiful now, we'll flip it over and we'll take the seal out and rebuild the seal and put the seal in properly. And then once the seal's in, we're good to go. Okay, so we have brand new gaskets, and we'll put the gasket in and the carrier seal in and tighten it down, and it'll be all good. All right, so there's the seal in place with the gasket underneath and all the bolt holes lined up. So take the bolts, we'll put them in. We'll torque them down, and I'll show you a picture when it's done. All right, so we're torquing everything down now, and we set it at 25 pounds. Okay, 25 foot-pounds, and that's going to seat the seal and everything very, very nicely.